Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Sound Lodge Podcast, also known as the Lodge Podcast.
Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about music-related stuff.
All of the music-related stuff.
Every single thing that's happened within the last week in music. Every single musician. We're going to go through every single musician, what they've done this week. The Grammys happened.
They did.
Did
that happen this...
Not sure.
I don't know. It happened at some point.
I don't pay attention to that crap.
That freaking crapola.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to... if there's any award show, that's the one I should pay attention to, but...
Yeah.
I'm better than the Grammys.
The Grammys are a joke, so...
Yeah.
All of the Grammy nominations were horrible. But yeah, so all the music stuff, we're going to talk about all the music, so this is going to be a long episode. It's going to be about 63 hours long.
I'm going to start from the invention of music.
Music history.
Music, yeah.
The entire history of music. So yeah, today is episode 14, right? 14, almost at 15. It's a nice little milestone.
Yeah, getting close to 15. Very excited. I'm enjoying these weekly episodes. I like how we're starting to take them a little more seriously and really kind of organize the questions, which is fun. This episode's going to be kind of related around VSTs and recording workflow, which we're really excited to get into. Last episode was a fun one. We talked about our favorite artists, our favorite bands, our favorite cover arts. Yeah. So if y'all have ever been curious about that, you should check that one out.
And we've done a lot of episodes before that, so go check those ones out too, if you'd like.
We actually delete our old episodes. They're only up for a week and then we delete them.
Yeah, the episodes are only up on Friday, so you have one day to watch them.
That was a technique for how to blow up a podcast. I saw that on YouTube before.
Yeah, delete all the episodes.
Yeah. Delete all old episodes.
Yeah. So no one can see your progress that you've made.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty much just basic stuff going on. What's been going on with you? Anything crazy?
Still working on this little documentary for the album. It's going well. I thought I would be finished this last weekend, and I've been editing it the past 2 days, and I was like, I wonder why I thought that, because I'm nowhere. I feel like that's every YouTube video I make.
Yeah, you're like, I mean, it's only done once you press export, so you could. That's kind of the thing. Sometimes is for me, it's hard to gauge if I'm even close to finishing a video, and then I'm at the end of the video, I'm like, oh, okay, this is actually good to go, and I'm totally fine. But sometimes it's completely vice versa, where I'm like, oh, I'm almost done with this video. Let's go. It's gonna take me another 15 minutes, and then it's just absolutely nowhere near done.
Totally.
But that's how it goes with creating anything. Honestly,
it is true. It is weird, the relationship of your actual progress and the progress you think you've made. Because when you start a song, I feel like your mind thinks you're making so much progress. So at the very start, you're like, oh, I'm 50%. And I've only spent an hour on this song. And then you kind of reach the first lull. There's a few lulls in every single song making progress. Yeah. And you reach the first one, you're like, oh, I'm not making any progress. And then eventually you get to the point where you actually think you're going backwards. Because you're adding stuff and you're like,
this sounds worse than it did before. Yeah.
How am I losing progress on the song?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's for whatever reason, it just made me think of the spent cost fallacy, where it's if you've spent enough time on something, you think that it's still worth spending your time on. Yeah. If you've waited in line for 2 hours and you're like, well, I've already been here for 2 hours, even though it's going to take you another 4 hours to actually get to the front of the line. And I remembered the other day, I told you about this story, but I didn't say it on the podcast here, but I went to go get gas from a gas station that I had been to multiple times. And I go to put the thing put the little nozzle in my gas tank, and it was just going so slow. It was 0.01, 0.02, 0.03, and I'm just sitting there what is this? I'm gonna be here all day if I want to even get half a tank. So then I was like, okay, it's got to be something wrong with the pump or with whatever. And so I just went to another pump. Same deal, but it was only slightly faster. And I was like, well, it's slightly faster, so I'll just wait it out. And I'm just sitting there, waiting. And I was like, well, I've already, put $5 worth of gas in my car. I'm not going to, not go now. When in reality, I ended up spending 20 minutes there to get $15 worth of gas. It would have been better use of my time to just go somewhere else and get the gas in 5 minutes. But just because I had sat there for so long working on the thing, I was, or like just, waiting for the thing, I thought that it was the best idea. Like in my head, I'm like, I have to stick with it now.
Yeah, there's a gas station across the street, but you're like,
literally
I'm here.
Yeah. Probably a better gas station across the street.
Yeah, it turns out that was just a Zen gas station.
Yeah.
Just to remind everybody to stay in the present.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a lot of non-Zen people there, let me tell you. Like the lady who just pulled up in her truck and just was like, what is this? It's a waste of my time. What is this? And then she just drives off. And then I was telling you about the other lady who was, came out of the, actual store part of the gas station. She was like, yeah, I put $45 in my car. Imagine how long I've been sitting here. And I was like, good point.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier, but like the lady who just started like cussing to nobody, just herself. It's like so weird. People who talk to themselves like out loud and like in a loud way. It's there's just
like I get sometimes like if you're doing something and you're like, oh, like I forgot this, like whatever.
Yeah, I do that a lot. I kind of whisper and I like talk to myself.
Yeah,
but just like saying something really loud,
full on out loud,
just to nobody.
Yeah, so strange. And I think also a lot of times when people do that, they're doing it because they like think somebody's watching them in a way. Like sometimes, I was just talking about this the other day. When like you're walking and your like shoe does that thing where it like kind of like skips on the ground and you don't like trip, but like you kind of do that thing. Well, I remember when I used to do that in high school, I would like always look back to like see like what was that? What the heck? Because I just assumed that like somebody's like looking at me like that guy's a fucking idiot.
That guy just tripped.
Yeah,
you're like, no, there was definitely something came and now it's gone.
Something was on the ground there. They must have not mopped that area or something. Yeah, but I feel like when people do that, like especially that lady, like she probably just knew that other people were around her and like wanted like people to just hear her complaining about something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is pretty odd. I think that's called main character syndrome that lady had there. I feel like everybody's got a little main character.
Oh, for sure.
I definitely have some main character syndrome.
I mean, we are all our own consciousness. So like we are just walking around as us.
Yeah.
So it is, everybody does have that.
Sometimes I'm like, there's no way that all these people on the road are real people. I'm going to rear end this guy in front of me.
And he's going to get out like a Sims character. Oh, you just hit my car.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what they do. I mean, usually when I hit people's cars, that's kind of how they react.
I feel like also if you upload any kind of YouTube videos, you definitely have a little bit of main character syndrome.
For sure, dude.
People want to know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Right, everybody cares about what I think. I mean, case in point.
No, exactly. Yeah, this is even worse. Like a podcast is even worse than just a regular YouTube video. Yeah.
People want to hear an hour and a half long form content of me just saying anything.
People want to hear about me getting gas.
Yeah. Yeah, for 10 minutes. Yeah, exactly. Now, what people really want to hear is us answering their musical questions that we have.
Musical questions. It's musical related to the musics. We need to make little jingles for each segment of the podcast.
Yeah. Just like really horribly made jingles.
We're really good because that was a really good one.
No.
Listen, we actually do have
I'm going to keep it real with you, all right?
Thanks, man. We actually have a new segment that we're going to start doing. We're going to give you a little update on what we've been doing for the week, but it's usually nothing other than editing videos and filming videos. So that usually will be quite quick.
Yeah.
But another quick thing we're going to do is just...
That was it right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing. Next
You
segment.
got gas, I edited a video, and that's what we did all week. But we're also going to mention some artists, some music we've been listening to. Just if y'all like the music we make, then you'll definitely like our inspirations because we draw from other people and we steal what they make a lot.
Yeah.
You'll notice when you start listening to the artists that I mention, you'll be like, oh, this is every moment. This is literally every moment, but another artist that made it before xole and Fizo made it.
Yeah.
Because we just steal blatantly.
Yeah, exactly. We actually take people's music and just upload it all onto our own profile.
Yeah. And then we flag theirs and say, this guy copyrighted.
Yeah, exactly. And then we just pay for a bunch of bot views on the songs.
Yeah. Dude, I told you about that one guy who, when I was like early on in my YouTube career, I made a lot of songs because I make like a tutorial for a specific artist and I'd make a song at the end. And they weren't good at all. It was me singing into a Blue Yeti microphone. But there was one guy who would just download the songs from SoundCloud that I uploaded and just drop them on Spotify. And they had like 50,000 streams
See, that's what I was referencing when I made that joke, but I didn't know that he would take like the songs that you made from YouTube videos. I thought it was just like all already your music and just
it was my music. So like I would make the song like how to sound like Post Malone, and then I would post it on SoundCloud. And I had some listeners on SoundCloud too, but he just was like, I think I'm gonna make this my song and not do anything. So it's literally my voice on his Spotify account, and it has like one song has like 80,000 streams, one has like 40, and then the others have like 5,000. But that was also when I thought you made a lot of money on Spotify. So I was like, this guy's making thousands of dollars off of me. And I remember I contacted him and I was like, hey man, not sure you really have a case here because this is my voice. And I told him to take it down, and he was like super apologetic and scared and stuff. And I was like, send me all the money you made from him, and he sent me like $50.
Yeah. He sent you enough for like to get Chipotle twice.
Dude, and then he had like a bunch of Instagram followers too. So I told him, I was like, you also need to tell them all that this was my music. Because if they like these songs, like I want them to listen to my stuff. So he was like, okay, I'll make a post about it. He posted about it, and then out of nowhere, I got like 2,000 followers instantly.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, dude, I'm blowing up because they're all listening to my music. They were all bot accounts.
Yeah.
Like every single one was a bot account, and I had to individually, it wasn't like 2,000. It was like probably 500, but I had to individually go through every single account and make them stop following me.
He just inconvenienced you even more.
Yeah. He definitely just bought a service and like made them follow me to make it seem legit. So it also makes me think like those streams might have been botted too, but that was just so weird. I was like, this is my voice, and I played the next song. This is my voice too.
How did you find out about it?
I actually don't remember. I need to remember that.
Because that's interesting. Like if you just came across it randomly, that's wild.
Yeah. I don't remember how I found it. I just remember being so shocked, like listening to all of them. I think I might have gotten copyright claimed.
Oh,
that's what it was. I got copyright claimed on my SoundCloud.
Yeah,
because those songs weren't on Spotify.
Right.
So one of the songs I got copyright claimed, and it told me to take it down. I was also monetizing on SoundCloud back then, and it told me to take it down. And I was like, "What? My music isn't on Spotify." So then I checked it out, and there was like 6 other songs. From me.
That's crazy.
I was like, "Hey, man, this is not cool."
Yeah, this is just my music.
I don't really know what your goal is here. Yeah. You're just going to be waiting like on the edge of your seat every time I drop a song to drop a song yourself.
Yeah, that's so bizarre. I really wonder what goes through people's heads when they do stuff like that. Like I've had a couple situations like that too, where people will just completely rip my videos and then re-upload them onto like a different platform. Like it's usually some like random like Chinese platform or something. And a lot of time that doesn't really bother me because the videos just have 0 views anyways. But there was definitely one time where somebody made a tutorial that was pretty much copying one of my tutorials.
Yeah.
And they just literally ripped my thumbnail from the thing. And I was like, that's just literally, you just took my thumbnail and used it for your thing. And so I reported the thumbnail and I was like, hey, like change the thumbnail because it's literally mine. I made that. And then I don't think the video got taken down, but he definitely got like some sort of like strike for it or something. Because not much of a case there. Same deal. Like that's actually just my thumbnail.
Dude, every time you talk about thumbnails, I think about those people who make the thumbnails and then they DM you and say, hey, you should use these. But I always think about that one guy. He's just like, hey man, you make good thumbnails, but I think I can make them a little bit better.
Yeah. And he just adds a fucking T-Rex in the background. Dude, I got one too where the guy was like, hey man, check out my thumbnails. I think I could really help boost your engagement. And it's just one of those like hard edits of Vladimir Putin, and he's just like sitting there like, it's so weird, man. It's like, this is the example that you're choosing to show me. Well, a lot of people, like when they do that, they'll do like, oh, here's a thumbnail of like a Kyle Beats video or whatever.
Exactly.
That, like an actual relevant example, but no, it's just Vladimir Putin.
I specialize in Putin related thumbnails. So if you ever make a tutorial on Putin, I got you.
Yeah, I do political channel thumbnails.
Yeah, it's a weird world we live in.
Yeah, it is. It's not hard to just create your own thing.
Yeah.
Just make something yourself.
Which we're going to get into that, talking about creativity. But I'm going to mention 2 artists that I've been listening to.
Yeah.
One of them is a guy named Harf. Very cool. He makes like folky pop, singer-songwriter type stuff. I would say he's very underrated. I think he has like 200,000. But he's got a lot of really cool songs. Got a really cool voice. Nice mixes. And then another one, very underrated guy, is a guy named Joe DeVito, who I found, I think like 3 weeks ago from Release Radar. And he's actually kind of popping off right now because he posts content of him like singing in his car, and he's like an insane finger picker.
Really?
He's like a really good guitar player, and he also has a really cool voice, and he makes just like straight up like folk, like old folk music, which is sick. So
that is sick.
Yeah,
mine are kind of boring. I've been listening to Lizzie McAlpine lately because I've been re-listening to the album.
New album. Yeah, I saw your video talking about your top 5 albums.
Yeah, that album is really good. The fact that it didn't get any sort of acknowledgments for...
Did it get no nominations?
No.
Really?
Which is wild. The Clara album got nominated for Best Alternative Music Album, which I was glad to see, but it didn't win, which is just absurd to me.
Who won that?
Album's so good. I don't know. Somebody who wasn't Claro.
Yeah. So I don't care.
I don't give a shit, yeah. But another one was a band that Wildorado shared a song from.
Oh, that's cool.
They're called Bronco, I'm pretty sure.
I think I've heard of them, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I have a few songs added by them.
There was one song they dropped today or recently in the past couple days that I really liked, and so I've been kind of going into their music.
I'm actually wrong. Band's called Briscoe that I was thinking of. They're pretty cool. But Bronco, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
What kind of music?
It's like...
Is it y'alternative?
No, it's not y'alternative.
That's all I listen to, y'alternative.
It's kind of like indie type vibe. It's cool though. I haven't listened to too many of their songs, but they're pretty cool. And if Wildorado like them, then I'm sure I'll like it too.
I follow anything they say.
Yeah. It's like the word of God.
Yeah.
They say anything and I'm just like, yes.
Wildorado.
Listen to that.
Yeah, so check out those songs if you want to. If not, then you don't have to.
Yeah.
And thanks for watching the episode, guys.
That's it, guys. Thanks for watching.
Share a few things that's happened to us, and then 2 songs we listened to, and we're out.
Yeah, nothing happened, and we listened to 2 different artists each. So thanks for watching.
You dropped a video where both of us went to a rooftop.
I did.
Sang a song. It was just complete, like, there's really not that much of a message behind it, not much of a theme behind it. It was just a fun video, and it's doing well.
Yeah, it's doing well. I think honestly, the theme is like just do the thing.
Yeah.
You know? Just pick the camera up and film, pick the guitar up and record. Just do whatever the creating of the art is, and don't worry so much about the outcome, and don't worry so much about the outcome being perfect, you know? And that was kind of exactly, what we did with that video, and people, I think, resonated with that.
Yeah, the comments were really cool.
Yeah, the comments were really awesome. Like, the support on... Anytime we drop any sort of like real video like that, everybody responds really well to it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we've been trying to make this year, which, I mean, I've just been so held up with this monster of a video. It's literally 40 minutes, which sucks. But like, once I get that done, we're just both going to be making videos like that, which is so fun. Just
totally
doing whatever.
Yeah.
Making a video. And I feel like I'm hesitant every time to drop those videos, and then I drop them, and then everybody's like, dude, make more stuff like this.
Yeah. And that's the thing. At the end of the day, also, you just got to drop the video and just not worry so much about how it's going to do. Because that's the thing. Most of the videos that have done really well on my channel, or like some of the best performing videos, are videos that I didn't even think were going to perform well. It was just kind of a random video. Like the most popular video on my channel, I wasn't even going to finish because I was like, this video's not even good. I'm just going to scrap it. And then I just was like, whatever, I'll just finish it, uploaded it, and it's the most popular video I have. So it just goes to show, man. Sometimes the stuff that you don't think is good, other people will think is good.
Exactly. And that's the thing about YouTube is it's just when you zoom out, it's just a massive feed of videos. But you think you put, or at least this is me, I just put so much pressure on like the next video.
Right.
When in reality, like if I scroll down on my feed like a year ago, every single video I kind of felt that way. But looking at it big picture, there's so many videos. Right. So I could drop just a video right now of like iPhone footage of me saying like a quick message and upload it, and it wouldn't like destroy my channel. It'd actually probably help out my channel. But I'm just like, this video has to be 4K. This video has to have a message behind it. This video has to have a payoff at the end. It has to have a final song. But in reality, I mean, it's every single video is just a little drop in the bucket, and I feel like I need to focus on that more.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like the paralysis of trying to make everything perfect. It kind of inadvertently makes you not make anything at all, you know? And then it's kind of this double-edged sword where you don't make anything because you want everything to be perfect, but nothing's going to be perfect. And then because you're so out of practice of making things, you even further don't want to make anything. Yeah. And then you just kind of go a super long time without uploading. You're like, okay, well, now I'm just not uploading anything. And then you upload a video and it's not perfect because it's been so long since you've made a really good video. And you're like, oh, this is like what I'm supposed to do is just make not perfect videos. So.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I've also just been feeling like a little low. I feel like this weather's just kind of, it's been brutal, man. It's really affecting like my energy and everything.
Yeah, same.
The sun hasn't come out once.
Literally, yeah, no. It was like for maybe a couple hours the other day, there was a little sun.
I remember that.
Which was nice.
I remembered what the sun looked and felt like.
Yeah, I was like, wow, what is that bright thing in the sky? Yeah, it's even worse too because we did have like 2 or 3 days where it was really nice and sunny, and now it's like, okay, here we go again with the winter crappy weather. But yeah, it does hugely affect your mood and your vibe and everything. And I think that's totally normal. I think a lot of people get so hung up on like the, quote unquote seasonal depression thing. Like, oh, I need to be doing stuff. It's okay to not be doing stuff, because nature outside is not doing stuff right now. Like the flowers aren't trying to grow outside right now. So you shouldn't really try to force yourself to do things outside of when the natural cycle of things is happening.
That's bars. He's spitting right now.
That's what I do.
Let's get into some of y'all's questions, guys.
Yeah.
Y'all had some good questions. Be sure to join the Discord and ask some questions and ask us questions. Just send as many questions as you can because we are low now. Now that we're doing weekly podcasts, we're really like knocking down a lot of the questions. So
yeah. So if you got any questions, anything you've ever wondered, let us know. Where do babies come from? We'll let you know on the Sound Lodge podcast.
Yeah, you heard it here first from the Lodge podcast.
Yeah.
Storks in the sky.
They come from storks, yeah.
Question from Elisecretdemos. What are your top 3 favorite plugins? So we're going to get into some technicalities of our music making process. The
nitty gritty paperwork of our music process.
We're going to be getting into that. Maybe one at a time.
Yeah.
What you got?
The first one that comes to mind for me is TrueVerb. TrueVerb is probably my favorite reverb plugin, and it's really nice because it's a very realistic sounding reverb, and you can also adjust not only the size of the room, but you can adjust basically the distance of the microphone, quote unquote, from the actual sound source so that you pick up more of the room or more of the just actual like sound source, which is really nice because that's how you would actually do it, in real life. Yeah. So I like that plugin a lot. It sounds really good. There's also a mono to stereo version because it's a Waves plugin. And so sometimes I'll put that on a drum overhead if I have a mono overhead or a room mic to turn it into kind of like a stereo thing. And it adds some really cool stereo width to drums and stuff. So it's a super versatile plugin, and it's basically the one reverb that I use for kind of everything.
So is that like the main Waves reverb plugin?
Like, what do you mean? The main like Waves reverb plugin?
Yeah, you said it's a Waves plugin?
Yeah. Waves also has like, I think H-Verb or like something like that. So they have a few, they have so many plugins, like an unbelievable.
Oh yeah, it's unbelievable.
But that one I know it's been around for a while, and it's just the one that I like. It had verb in the title, and I was like, let's use this one. And then I tried it, and I was like, oh, this is actually really good. So that's the one that I like. And I just basically use it on every track.
That's a good one. Quick mention to Valhalla, Vintage Verb. That's my favorite reverb plugin. Been using that a while, but I've recently been using Ableton's Convolution Reverb, so I haven't been using it that much. I've also just haven't been using that much reverb recently. Yeah. I'll usually just have a reverb send and just do a little bit of reverb from every track, but I'm kind of getting into more, because I used to use reverb too much. Yeah. But, so I've been lowering that. But number one mention would be Melodyne. Yeah. I mean, that's probably my favorite plugin of all time as a singer. I think if you just make beats, you don't need Melodyne at all. Although Melodyne, the highest paid version editor, you can actually use it like with instruments. And like if you play piano, it'll record every individual note, and you can adjust the pitch of every individual note. So like if your piano's a little detuned, you can fix that, and you can do like pitch bends. It's really, really cool. But I only have the Assistant, which I think is $250. But Melodyne is just the best, man. I mean, like I used to use Autotune a lot, and no matter how good of a singer you are, if you use Autotune, it's going to sound like Autotune.
Yeah.
Which
it just has a very particular sound.
It does. And I think it sounds cool a lot. Like a lot of R&B songs, like really talented singers, they use Autotune just stylistically instead of using more of their raw voice. But with my music, since I do like indie and folk stuff, I don't want the quick note adjustments. I want to have more of a realistic sound. So Melodyne is just the best.
Yeah.
Definitely worth saving up for.
I kind of think of Autotune in a way as almost like a vocoder type effect, where if you want a specific sound, you go for that. Whereas like if I want kind of an auto-tuned sounding vocal, I grab Autotune for that.
Yeah.
But also you can use it like very lightly, like with very slow retune speed, to where it does sound kind of natural still. And I've done that too before, even with just like the stock FL Studio one, and that'll sound okay. But it's never gonna be like, you can't take a really bad vocal and make it sound good the way you can with Melodyne.
Totally. Yeah, I think like I would rather, if you're a beginner singer and your pitch isn't that great, I would recommend just recording a bunch of vocal layers and like stacking them instead of using Autotune. If you don't want that Autotune sound, because even with a low retune speed, you can definitely get away with it, but I think it's still pretty obvious. But at the same time, that's somebody who's been listening to music for so long and making music for so long. I think most people honestly wouldn't really even pick up that Autotune's on the vocals.
Yeah, also, if you have a slow retune speed, the place where you're really going to hear it is on your own vocals, where you have the before and after. Like, I think even for you or I, if somebody had a very light Autotune on their vocals to where it was just like not really even noticeable, I don't think that we would pick up on it. Like to where if they use it naturally. But I think it's so much more obvious when you do it on your own vocals, because you have that before and after comparison.
That's a good point.
But yeah, Melodyne's very good. There's also alternatives to it too that aren't as good. I know that
FL has a stock one, right?
It does. It has. I think it's called Newtone.
And it's just free.
Yeah, it just comes with
crazy.
it. But it's not great or anything. It's not, the super accurate, and the pitch correction is sometimes very sharp. So it kind of like snaps between notes instead of like slowly like gliding or whatever. So it's not as great, but there are alternatives for sure to Melodyne. But yeah, I mean, if you're serious about doing vocals, definitely get Melodyne. Yeah. Another one that I have is an instrument plugin, which is Analog Lab. I use Analog Lab all the time because I don't have any synths at all. And I love the sound of analog synths and being able to have access to like Juno keyboard sounds and like CMI sounds and OBXD and all this other stuff, like all these other super fancy synths that would cost you $50,000 to get. You have them all inside Analog Lab for like $200. I think I waited until it was on sale. It goes on sale like once a year, I think, for Black Friday or whatever. I got it for like $100, and I think $100 is totally well worth it because you'll use it forever. Yeah,
no, that was gonna be on my list too. I haven't used another synth plugin other than that. You have Serum though, don't you?
I do have Serum. I don't use Serum that often because I've kind of gotten more out of sound design. But if I want a very specific sound that like I'm curating specifically for a certain thing, then I will use Serum, and I'll go in there and I'll make it from scratch. Serum is the only plugin that I've ever done rent to own on, and so I just basically for like 2 years paid like $12 a month to own Serum. And I don't really know why I did that. I think it was through Splice maybe, or through like one of those websites, and I was just like, let me give it a shot. And that's nice, because then you don't have to pay for it all at once. And there's a few plugins that you can do that with. I think Analog Lab you can probably do that with too. But yeah, Serum is nice, but I would not really say that Serum is for everybody. I wouldn't recommend it to most people. If you know stuff about sound design, definitely. But otherwise, I don't think it's like a must-have plugin.
Also, cheat code with that whole rent-to-own thing, especially for like a sound design plugin like that. Just get it for a month and make a bunch of single-note presets, and then you can sample those.
Facts. Just make a bunch of one-shots.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, no. Analog Lab, I got that early because I did a brand deal with them.
Really?
When they made Pigments, which is basically like their version of Serum.
Yeah.
But so I have Pigments too, but I've never used that because I've always just used Analog Lab. It's just so much easier. And like, especially with making our kind of music, like indie music, you get access to those like 80s synths, which is very prevalent in a lot of the music that we listen to. So,
well, yeah, I've used honestly Analog Lab so many times for different tutorials, like Vansire, for example. I was talking about how they use so many vintage synths, like they have Juno synths and all that kind of stuff, but I don't. So I just use Analog Lab for it, and that works perfectly fine.
Yeah, that's sick.
Like, it's not going to be exactly the same. You're not going to get the same, warmth and tonality and all this other stuff. But like for somebody like me, like I don't really care.
Yeah.
Maybe at some day I'll mess around with getting vintage synths and hardware synths and stuff. But for now,
I'm definitely gonna get it. Nowhere near financially stable enough to. Like,
well, that's the thing.
And they're also so expensive.
Yeah, even like the cheap ones are like $300, $400, which is wild. So yeah, not really in a spot to do that right now, but eventually.
I mean, that would be the coolest thing ever, though. Going to like having people come to our studio, and there's like people who have the wall of synths where they're like stacked up on each other is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, I love when you see studios where they have the wall of synths and they don't touch any of them, and they only have like fucking Nexus presets that they use and everything. And it's like, dude, you got all this gear that you just bought just for show.
Or they have an actual Juno, but they're just doing it on Analog Lab.
Exactly. It's like, I remember when, Peter McKinnon?
Yeah.
I remember when, before he got into film photography, he just bought a ton of film cameras just to put like behind him on the wall. And he was like, yeah, no, I don't even know if any of these work. I just bought them from some guy who was selling them as a lot. And it's just like the most pretentious thing ever. Just get a bunch of this thing that like I'm not even going to use ever.
Yeah, it's so expensive too.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's Analog Lab is my second choice.
Yeah, recommended for me as well. My next one would be Ozone.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I use that in every song. I use that to master. I use their maximizer. And then they also have multi-band dynamics, which is huge because I don't have a plugin that does that. And I use that. But there's also like EQ. There's also vintage EQ and some saturators. It's like an all-in-one plugin. I think I have Ozone 9. Pretty sure it's Ozone 11 right now, but I have standard. I think I don't know which version. I have the middle version. I think it's like 200.
See, I have the low version.
Essential.
Yeah, or it's like Isotope Ozone Elements. I think.
Yeah, Element. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's simpler, but it basically still has the EQ, the stereolyzer or whatever it's called.
Yeah, the imager.
Yeah, the imager. And then it also, which is also just a free plugin. You can just get that.
Really?
Yeah, you can just download that separately.
Yeah, I use that in all my masters too.
Yeah, I use that to just add some stereo width. And then also the maximizer, which is really the most important part.
Yeah, if that's the case, that's definitely worth it. Although I do like their multi-band dynamics.
I would honestly recommend the one that you have because there's a couple cool features in there that I think are pretty nice to have. But yeah, I got that one because I got it in a bundle of a bunch of other stuff from Plugin Boutique. So I got that, and I got like Isotope, just I don't know, whatever, a bunch of. There's one called like Trash, I think. There's a bunch of just weird Isotope.
Yeah, there are some weird ones. Another one
I thought I had RX, but I don't have RX.
RX is not. I use that for our podcast for denoising.
Yeah. I thought I had that one because at one point I recorded something with a bunch of noise, and I was like, oh, I can just use RX, and then I just didn't have the plugin.
Really?
Yeah,
that sucks.
But there's a couple other cool ones in that little bundle. I mean, if you can get Isotope or any plugins for that matter with a bundle, definitely do it because it's always going to be cheaper. That's what usually.
Isotope's dope.
Yeah, with people who get the Sound Toys plugins, that's usually what they'll do is they'll get the bundle of all the Sound Toys plugins. Yeah, which those are really good too.
Yeah.
Okay, you said Ozone. I'm trying to think of a good third one. Because I use
you have a lot of Waves plugins.
I do. I use a lot of Waves plugins because I have all of them because they give them all to me, which is super cool.
That is awesome.
And they're all really good though too. Like, incredible.
Yeah, I use the CLA 1176 in all my mixes.
Yeah, I was gonna say the 76 is really good. I also use their Sheps 73 preamp a bunch. That's really nice for drums. But I'm trying to think. Honestly, this is kind of a stupid cop-out answer, but just the basic FL Studio 8-band EQ is so essential, man.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't have that, there'd be so many little things that would just sound so bad. And it makes you realize how essential EQ is.
Yeah.
Like, the one thing I will say is that if you can get a really good recording prior to, going into the DAW, you're not going to need EQ as much. But for, people like pretty much every one of us who is working in a home studio, there's going to be resonating frequencies and stuff that you need to EQ out and like just kind of surgically cut and stuff. And so EQ is so essential, and having one that has a bunch of different bands is really nice.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great answer. That's probably my most used plugin.
I would agree.
My EQ8 on Ableton.
I have an EQ on literally every track always. So yeah, EQ definitely.
I'm not gonna let you cop out though. I'm gonna want you to pick another third-party VST, but I'll let you think. Right. I'm gonna go with Soothe. I've listed 3 plugins that are like my most expensive plugins. Yeah, but they're all worth it. So I have a
Soothe
few.
Is really cool.
I have a few little shout outs that I'm gonna give you all that are cheap plugins, but Soothe is worth the purchase. Like I would definitely wait until Black Friday, get Soothe. But I mean, especially if you're recording any live instruments, Soothe is the wave, because it's I don't know what the technical term is, but it's like a resonating frequency, like a soother, Yeah. And it's all you got to do is just throw it in. Yeah. And it instantly will cure. Like if you have a guitar and there's a very resonating frequency, like a note that's ringing out that you don't like, it can just totally tame that and remove it. And like also guitar squeaks, that's a huge thing with guitar, and Soothe will just totally eliminate that. But the reason why I use it so much is because I mix with vocals, and you can sidechain certain instruments certain tracks to certain tracks. So I'll group all of my instruments, put it in a group, and then sidechain the beat, so all the instruments to the vocals. And instead of having like doing that with a compressor, where it'll just lower the volume of the beat, instead it's actually just lowering the frequencies. Yeah. Okay. So like you still keep frequencies that the vocals aren't even in, right? Because you don't need to lower those frequencies. Right. You just need to lower the frequencies. It's usually around like 2K, and I mean that's instantly gonna have your vocals just pop through the mix.
Yeah, that's really cool. Soothe is a really cool. I don't have it, but I've seen you use it on different projects and stuff, and it's a really cool plugin. I would say that because you can kind of do the same stuff that it does with other plugins. Like there's
you can do it with Pro Q3.
Ways. Yeah,
Pro Q3 is another one. That one's a great plugin, but I don't use it as much anymore because I have Soothe now.
Yeah. But I think that's the thing. Soothe also kind of just like does something else to the vocals. Like it just makes them sound cleaner.
It does something.
But you definitely can, like all that stuff you're describing, like you can do with some other plugins. Like you can sidechain certain frequencies with just stock plugins, and you can go in with a de-esser and get rid of the guitar squeaks and all that kind of stuff. But it's a lot of times just easier to have it all in one thing.
And it saves so much time. Yeah. Because you'd have to automate that. If you did it like with all of the layers in the beat, you'd have to sidechain it. And then you'd have to automate how much like volume and frequencies you want to lower. But Soothe like just does it in real time. Yeah, it's pretty sick. It's really expensive though. I think it's like $200, but that's another plugin that's just I use it in every song. Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, I've been making music for so long now that I've like I didn't buy all these when I first got into it because I didn't have any money, but like over time I'd make a big purchase every 2 years. So it was like Melodyne, and then it was Soothe. Ozone was like one of the first ones, but like over time you kind of stack up these like infinity stones of VSTs, and at some point you zoom out and you're like, dude, I've put thousands of dollars into just plugins, which I have nowhere near 1,000. I probably have near 1,000, but it's pretty crazy.
For sure over 1,000. Yeah. I was thinking about that a while ago too. It's funny because I don't really use plugins as much anymore. Like I used to use plugins, like sound plugins, VST plugins, a lot more for just the music that I made. But now I don't really do that as much because I record my own stuff. But when it comes down to also actual music gear, guitars and all that kind of stuff, thousands in that too, So the combination of everything that you've spent money on in music is really wild to kind of take a step back and be like, wow, yeah, I've put a lot into this stuff,
Yeah. And then like when you have people come over like and get studio time, like I've worked with a few people and it's difficult to like price yourself. Yeah. Because you're like, I don't think I should charge $50 an hour. That's so much money. But then you zoom out and you're like, I'm bringing a lot to the table. Yeah. Not only with like the knowledge I have, but also with all of the gear that I have that I've kind of taken for granted.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, if they were to go out and buy all the gear that you have to do exactly what they're doing in your studio, it would be astronomically higher than them paying like $100 an hour to record in your studio. So I think that is one thing I've thought about that for a long time, even ever since I started, like people complaining about, charging a lot for beats or charging a lot for studio time. It's like, dude, there's the amount of equipment that I'm using here is an unfathomable amount of money to like what I'm charging you. So yeah, that is, don't sell yourself short,
Yeah, guys, believe in yourselves.
Yeah, always believe in yourself. But I have actually 2 other plugins that are non stock native plugins. The first one I thought of that's really, really essential is Labs by Spitfire Audio. Literally the best free plugin ever created ever. It's actually insane that they allow that plugin to be free because it's so good and they put so much time and effort into it and all the presets. All the presets are like 3 gigabytes because they record so many sounds for it. And yeah, that plugin is just a must-have. Like if you don't have that plugin, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So that one, and then also the other one that I thought of that's more specific to me is CLA Guitars by Waves. That one is like how I get my guitar tone on every single song ever. So yeah, that one is pretty essential for me.
Yeah.
But I will say, when I dropped Hiatus, which was the last song that I dropped, I didn't have my Waves plugins at the time. So I used all new everything.
Yeah.
And I kind of recreated just a new guitar tone with this JMP plugin. It was like a emulation of this like JMP, I don't know, guitar simulation, amp simulator thing. And it's actually a really good plugin, but it's different vibe for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, those are good. I like that. Yeah, I mentioned these are some cheaper ones. So Vintage Verb, I think y'all should get that. Either get that or True Verb, but get Vintage Verb. Supermassive.
True Verb's cheaper.
Supermassive is free.
Yeah, Supermassive's really good.
Supermassive is a delay and a reverb. So it's like Vintage Verb. It doesn't have as many presets, but it also has delay. And it's a really cool, like some plugins I have are very control based and like I know what I want to get out of this thing. So I'll throw it in and and it has a lot of parameters and controls and I can adjust it. But some are just inspiration plugins. Supermassive is one of those because the presets are really good.
Yeah.
And also anything with delay, like it'll really inspire you and it'll give you new ideas. So just throwing that in, choosing a preset and instantly have a new kind of idea for how you want to take the song. So that one's a good one. That one's free. Standard clip. It's a soft clipper. Or it's just a clipper, but I use it for soft clipping. Which if y'all...
Does Ableton not have a native soft clipper?
It has a saturator. It has a compressor. It has a limiter. It doesn't have a clipper.
So, see, that's what is fire about FL Studio. I have a preset that is a soft clipper on my master track for every single song I've ever made ever.
Yeah.
And the soft clipper at FL Studio is so good. You just pull up the default preset and just use it as it is. It's
Ableton's glue compressor does have soft clipping, but I think standard clip, just the UI, it's a visual clipper and it's like, it's really easy to work with.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's like $20. So I use that in all of my mixing. Also, to everybody out there, you should start learning about soft clipping and limiting because that's going to give you space for all of your instruments and also in the long term just give you a louder master and a lot more control over. Because like a lot of transients you'll get in a recording, like even if you kind of like the sound of the transient, if it's really loud, it's going to take away volume from the other instruments. And once you bring it into the master, you're going to think, why isn't this like drop hitting as hard? Well, it's because your kick is just taking so much volume from everything else. And soft clipping, some kind of witchcraft. I don't understand fully what soft clipping is, but like it still retains the power of the punch of the transient, but it just shaves it off top. So
yeah, soft clipping is pretty incredible because it's like basically getting volume without actually getting volume. I remember when I was kind of researching it a while ago, I did a whole video that was about like all different effects and everything.
Yeah.
And so I dived really deep into like every different effect from like reverb to distortion to whatever. And essentially soft clipping is like a form of distortion. Same with saturation. Like saturation is a form of distortion as well. It's meant to model like old analog gear, like old analog compressors and stuff, because basically what they would do is instead of taking the transients, taking the waveform of your sound and chopping it off so that it's like a hard, like kind of distortion.
Like a limiter?
Yeah. Or like basically hard clipping, where you just have that kind of like distorted sound. It rounds off the sound so that it's bringing the volume down underneath the threshold, but it's still retaining close to what the original sound actually sounds like. So it's really cool. I like soft clipping a lot. I think it's such an underrated thing. Like for whatever reason, people don't talk about it enough. And I just remember, especially for trap beats and, kind of electronic stuff, using a soft clipper is like essential, because that's how you get your kicks and your 808s to just knock super hard. I remember watching a video when I kind of probably like a year or two into first starting making beats, and some guy was like, yeah, just put a soft clipper on every time you have a master track. And I was like, okay, let me try that. And I did it, and all of my beats hit so much harder, and I was like, okay, that's what I'm doing forever now.
Yeah, I remember those days too. Like, you wouldn't even adjust the parameters. You just throw it in and be like, oh, this does sound better. But like some of the tracks, it's not even clipping anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's how it is half the time. Because sometimes, I leave it on. I leave the soft clipper on for everything, just as kind of like a habit. And it's just on my preset, so I do it. And also, like, it just sounds good. But the thing is, when I export, I bring all the volumes down. So I mix pretty much right at like 0 dB. And then in order to master, I take all the volume tracks and just bring them down so they're around like, anywhere from like negative, 10 to like negative 6 dB. And then I bring it into another project where I master it. But once I do that, nothing's going above 0 dB, so it's not even being affected by the soft clipper that I have on there.
Yeah, I mean, definitely use it. Like, train your ear to hear what it sounds like, because it can totally mess up some sounds, because it is a saturator. It is adding harmonics. So like, if you throw it into your vocals, I would definitely be hesitant about that, because it'll definitely change the tone of your vocals and you'll get some distorted sounds. But I think drums, like, you need a soft clipper. You need some kind of clipping on there.
Yeah.
Make it slap a little harder.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I mean, if you put it on your master, it's only really, I mean, obviously this is depending on the settings that you have on the soft clipper, obviously. But if you have it clipping at around like 0 dB, it's just going to affect those kick drums and everything anyways. So that's kind of just a good go-to. But you can also obviously artistically soft clip certain other instruments and everything too. So mess around with it. I think that's just like any effect that you're using. Mess around with it, experiment, but also, like you said, like, get used to the way it sounds and like actually learn how it sounds. Because it's like the classic thing when you're in the studio and the engineer, they're like, oh yeah, like the artist goes, oh yeah, put that plugin back on there. That plugin sounded good, and it was just nothing at all. So he just like clicks a button and he's like, yeah, that sounds so much better, but it did actually nothing at all.
Yeah, or you're mixing a song and you're mixing a track for like 15 minutes and you're like, dude, I'm making progress. And then you realize like all of the plugins have been bypassed.
Yeah.
And you just instantly doubt your ear and you're like, am I just the worst producer ever?
Yeah. A lot of times, like, for me, it's usually pretty quick for me to notice that if I'm like not adjusting something. But a lot of times in FL Studio, you can be clicked on plugins that are on another track.
Yeah.
And so I'll have plugins open for like the drums, and I'm adjusting the EQ, and I'm like, why is this not making the guitar sound any different? And I'm like doing hard cuts and stuff, and I'm like, oh, this is just not the EQ for this track.
Yeah.
But I feel like everybody's had those moments.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no. So that would be one. And then Imagiro Piano.
Yeah.
I really like that piano.
He put out a new piano plugin as well.
Yeah, he has, it's like a washed piano.
Yeah. I think it's called like water piano or something.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. He's got a lot of, I think he has like 4 plugins, but he's really cool. I think it's just one dude. And he also has music. He's got some pretty cool music too.
Really? That's awesome.
But yeah, Imagiro Piano. I love that piano. Labs Piano, obviously, that's free. You should get that. Yeah. BBC Orchestra.
That's a really good one too.
If you like what we do and you like kind of orchestral sounds, free. And sounds pretty realistic.
That one's essential, I feel like. Like, if you're doing any sort of stringed anything at all, like if you're using, violins or cellos or whatever, definitely you got to get that one, because it's an actual live recorded orchestra. Like, you can't really get much better than that. Cool. So yeah, anything from Spitfire Audio, I think you should get. I've never tried any of their paid stuff, and I'm sure their paid stuff is expensive, but I would get Labs and just get every Labs library that you possibly can.
Yeah, I love that when you're getting plugins from a website and then you just click on the free section, and then I'm gonna get all of these.
I would get everything in here. Yeah,
and you only use like maybe one.
Yeah, there's another plugin company that I'll shout out. I think it's called Sample Science, and Sample Science, they have a bunch of free plugins on their thing, and it's all really good stuff. Usually they're all kind of like one-off sounds, so it's like one whole plugin for like a French violin or like something like that. But all the sounds sound really good, and I use their plugins from time to time. Like they have one that's called like Room Piano, I think that's them. They have room piano, and they have like a old like saloon piano kind of sound. That's cool. So I would definitely recommend theirs too, because they're all free. Well, they have some that are paid, but a lot of them are free.
That's sick. Yeah. Pro Q3 is another good one.
Yeah, I've wanted Pro Q3 for a while, and the other like Fab Filter plugins and stuff, but they are just a bit.
Yeah, apparently the limiter is good. I think it's called L2 or something, but that's what Caleb uses. But I just use Ozone. But Pro Q3 is really nice because it's dynamic EQ as well, which is just pretty. Yeah, I think you need some kind of dynamic EQ plugin. You can probably find one for free, so get that. But Fab Filter is definitely worth it if you save up for it.
Yeah, I think when you start doing vocal stuff, there becomes so many more plugins that you have to get.
That's very true. Yeah,
which is nice because a lot of that stuff I've just pretty much never used. Like I've never really seen a instance where I need to use Soothe or I need to use Pro Q or need to use any of that stuff. So
Fresh Air is another good free one.
Fresh Air is really good. I have used that one actually quite a few times. And that's good for just adding, definitely for vocals, for adding like some air into your vocals, but it's also just good for adding like just more shine and sparkliness to anything you might be doing.
I would also say any Sound Lodge packs. Get some live drums, some live rain sounds, storm samples.
They're not plugins, but they're great samples, I would say.
Also, I would recommend checking out the lectures too. The lectures.
And the merch, actually.
These are my favorite plugins.
Yeah, these are essential for me to make music. I need to have a Sound Lodge t-shirt on for me to make music. Otherwise, I just can't be inspired, man.
Yeah, so those were some plugins.
Yeah, those were some plugins.
You should check them out. Definitely get the free ones if you don't have those. Yeah, because it's free.
Totally. We can honestly, if you guys have any questions about free plugins, we can do a whole other question about that.
I think that'd be cool. Let's do that maybe next episode. But y'all, one of y'all's gonna have to ask it. So go to the Discord and ask it. Also, drop in the comments what's your favorite plugin.
Yeah, I'm curious to know.
All right, Elisecretdemos, another question, kind of a runner-up here. What gear do you rely on most when recording music, and how much does it cost? I was going to choose a plugin, but I think I'm going to choose an actual analog piece of gear. So I'll think about that. Do you have an answer?
I do. My audio interface, I think, is the number one thing when I think.
What is your audio interface?
My audio interface. It is, I use the Behringer UMC 1820. And it's probably the best price-wise, like I think it's 8 inputs, audio interface that you can get. Because the Focusrite one, super expensive. But I bought the Behringer one used, I think, for like $150 or something. And I use it for drums, and it's incredible for drums. Because I have a lot of drum mics that I need to use, and I also use the 2 inputs on the front for one vocal mic and one guitar cable. Because you don't need like 7 different guitar cables plugged in at one time. You can just unplug it from your guitar, plug it into the bass if you need to. So yeah, that thing's incredible, and I use that pretty often. And other than that, I would say my computer is pretty important too, because otherwise wouldn't be able to do
not
anything.
An answer. Come on.
I mean, that's definitely an answer. Like that's a very important piece of gear.
Yeah, I mean, that's number one for everybody.
Yeah, well, I mean, not for everybody.
Yeah, unless some people
record on tape. Some people, do DAW-less or whatever.
True. Hey. Yeah, those are good answers. Yeah, I would recommend everybody, because I remember when I first started making music, I didn't have an interface. I just plugged in my, headphones into the computer. But I think having an interface, even if you don't play any instruments and don't record, just having one will definitely inspire you to like get into recording stuff.
Yeah, you're like, this little box here.
Yeah, it just makes you feel more like a producer.
It really does.
Which is really cool. And the thing is, once you get an interface, all you need is a cheap microphone and then just a cable. an XLR, and then you're set, and you can already record vocals.
Yeah,
but you can't do that just plugging it directly into your computer. So at some point, as a producer, you will need to get an interface.
Yeah, I would say definitely an interface is pretty essential. It's not completely necessary, but it's pretty essential if you actually take it seriously.
Would you recommend them get like a Focusrite 2i or look into getting?
That was the first one that I had. I think honestly, if you don't plan on recording like a bajillion different things, like the only reason that I got a bigger interface was because I planned on recording drums, so I needed more microphone inputs. Like there was no way that I could keep my 2i2 or whatever because I just needed 8 drum mics or whatever, or I needed at least 3, 4 plus. So I sold my 2i2 and got the Behringer one. But yeah, if you're just doing only vocals, if you're doing like just vocals and guitar or whatever, just get the basic, Scarlett 2i2, or even a cheaper, simpler one is fine, because a lot of people are like, oh no, you got to get like the, UAD Apollo or whatever because it's got the best like sound perform. Like, dude, you don't need to go over the top with that.
Any interface that's less than like $500 is not going to have a preamp that is good enough to encourage you to pay for that kind of like interface. I think
I wouldn't pay more than like $200 for an interface, honestly.
Yeah, and unless you got the bread.
Yeah, if you got the cash, then go.
There
for
are
it.
some interfaces that will add like some nice tone through some kind of preamp, but like my interface is just an interface. It just records DI guitar, and that's all I need because I have plugins where I can get the saturation and the cool warmth through plugins.
Yeah, and pretty much any audio interface that you have has preamps on it, but the preamps on the cheap ones just are not going to sound good. Like you can't like push them to get like cool distortion effects or anything like that. So honestly, you're better off just getting a simple interface. And this is what I could have done as well, or maybe not, because the Scarlett might not have an adapter thing, but most interfaces have a little like, I don't know what the thing is called, like AT adapter or something, where you can plug in another interface to expand it. And that's what mine has right now. And so what I'm probably going to do eventually is, because my drum mics are kind of like taking up a lot of space. Like I use pretty much the maximum inputs. So what you can do is get a little adapter thing to add another like 8 inputs, so I can get a preamp strip where it's basically just like 8 to 10 channels of just microphones, and plug my mics into there, and then free up all the mics for everything else. Also, another thing that's really cool to have more inputs than just 2, and this is kind of an underrated thing that I almost forgot, is being able to run stuff out. So a lot of those simple ones, like this Focusrite 2i2, they don't have outputs. But if you have like the 4i4 or whatever it is, the more advanced ones, they have outputs on the back. So you can send stuff out and then send it back in through your interface. So you can send like your master track through cassette tape and then run it back in. But you can't do that with just the simple interface. You can also send it through guitar pedals, or you can send it through literally whatever else you want. And that's a really cool effect to be able to mess around with, and that'll inspire you a lot. And I remember when I was like finding out that you could do that, we could send your beats or your effects and tracks and stuff through guitar pedals. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. I need to do this. And then I was absolutely crushed by the fact that I couldn't do it because I had the 2i2 only. So definitely if you want to ever experiment with stuff like that, I would get the little bit more advanced one too. So yeah, if you only really need a big interface with 8 inputs or more, like I have, if you are recording a band or if you're recording drums. So
I think, I mean, the biggest reason people get interfaces is just to plug in their microphone for vocals. So like start there, get an interface. Also, if you want to record guitar, get an interface.
I think that's kind of the main reason I think of too. But also, I mean, if you have, there's workarounds for that too. You can record an amp, with your microphone.
I mean, everybody has voice memos. You can get a solid recording with voice memos. I mean, there have been like platinum records with vocals recorded on voice memos or guitars recorded on voice memos. So
I mean, Steve Lacy is the prime example of, he just made all his beats on his phone, which is nutty. With like an iRig,
Yeah. Don't blame it on the gear.
Yeah.
I would say probably my Alvarez acoustic guitar.
Really?
That's on every single one of my songs. For like the past probably 3 years. That's been on every single track.
Yeah.
And I feel like that has totally shaped my sound, is revolving everything around the acoustic. That's also where I write all of my songs. And I probably spend 30% of my time writing the song, and that's just me and the guitar. So that's just me and this one piece of gear that I totally need. And then, it's just on every single one of my tracks. And that was the first guitar that I bought myself, and it was just such a great purchase. I went with a friend who like knew guitars and ended up getting one that was a little more expensive than I thought I would. But I'm so glad I did that, because it's not like I'm not at a point where I got a cheaper one and now I want to buy another one and I have to buy a whole another one. But I like already got a good enough one that I just love the sound of it. And it's been my guitar for so long that I know how it plays, which is one of the coolest things, is having like a cool relationship with your guitar. That's the same thing about my camera. Like my camera, I did not need to buy a GH5. I did not need to buy this 4K camera when I had like 3,000 subscribers. But like I saved a bunch of money from working at Sonic, and I was like, I'm gonna buy a nice camera. And same thing, talked to a friend of mine who knew cameras, and they suggested this one, and it was like, it's a lot of money, but I've been using that for X amount of years, and
you're probably not gonna get a new one anytime soon.
I won't need to get a new. That's the funny thing. Like whenever you go with people who know stuff, they're always like, you should get this one. And it's like one of the most expensive ones, because they're like, this one's really good. I know cameras.
Yeah, exactly. That is very true. They never give you the budget-friendly option.
Exactly. But I needed it, dude, because that was like, I had no clue about cameras. I ordered a camcorder. I thought it was just a regular camera. I had no clue what cameras were, dude. And it was 4K camera from Amazon, and it's that camcorder that I have that is the worst camera ever.
Yeah, it shuts off like every 2 seconds.
And it's just the worst quality ever. But I was like, I mean, my iPhone was way better than that. Yeah. But I was like, I'm a YouTuber, I need to get a camera. So I bought that one. And then like 2 months later, I was like, I don't think this is 4K. I don't know what 4K is, but I don't think it's this.
Probably not this. I don't know what it is, but it's not this.
No. Yeah, so I'd say my guitar. If not my guitar, my Rode NTK microphone. Been doing vocals on that for so long. I think that's a huge thing, man. Like leveling up from the Blue Yeti. Because like getting a microphone that's around the 200 mark and up is pretty. I would recommend it to people. Now, if you're just starting music, get the Blue Yeti, because like you'll need to learn how to record vocals. You'll need to get a better voice. You'll need to work on your voice, but just that one step.
Don't get a USB microphone. That's the thing.
That's
like get that's why that goes back to, you should have an interface, because you should have an XLR microphone. Dude, this microphone right here is $25. It sounds exactly the same as that microphone. And it sounds great recording vocals too. Like we recorded Saturdays and a bunch of other songs at my house. We recorded
that whole album.
Yeah, with just this. And this is a $25 microphone.
And it's like 200% better than the Blue Yeti.
Yeah, exactly. So
that is a good point. Maybe you don't need
a USB mic.
Yeah, you don't need the $200 one, but don't get the USB. But again, like that microphone is so much better than this for vocals. So like making that purchase, if you take your vocals seriously, is important. Like mixing will save you a lot of sound. Like mixing is almost as important as the microphone. I would say even more so. But there's only so much you can do with a Blue Yeti.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's just not going to capture the frequencies in the same way that a nice microphone would. Another big thing too is when you are getting a microphone, don't just get like the Rode because Coleman has the Rode, and don't just get the SM7B because that's the one that everybody has. Get a microphone that's going to fit for your vocals. Because I remember seeing this one TikTok of this guy who, I don't even know if he makes music anymore, but a long time ago, he was saying how the SM7B, he just uses it for vocals all the time, which is kind of more of like a podcast mic because it's dynamic mic or whatever. He just uses it because it has a nice like kind of darker tone for his vocals, and he just likes that better than even his like Neumann mic or whatever super nice mic that he had. So it just matters what kind of fits your vocal tonality and what fits with the song that you're making. Yeah. So I think get a microphone that works for you, not just a super expensive one too.
I agree.
But yeah, I think. Another one for me, it's hard for me because with drums, honestly, so much of the drum sound comes down to the microphones, like the way you're recording it, and also the plugins. So like for me, like I want to say like, oh, my drum kit, just because I love my drum kit.
Yeah.
But I could honestly be using any drum kit.
Yeah.
And record it the same way and record it with the same effects and everything, and it would sound similar to the way my drum kit sounds. So I just love drums, but I also have all of the cheapest drum mics on my drums too. Well, with the exception of the M201 on the snare. I started using the Bear Dynamic M201 on the snare drum, and that thing is nice, man.
Is it like worth the upgrade?
No, but it's really nice though. Like I would not like. Probably it would take me a long time to actually spend the money to like change that out. Like if you just have an SM57, or if you just have even like a crappy little dynamic mic, for sure use that. But when I switched from the SM57 to the M201, I was like, wow, this is nice.
Really?
Definitely not justifiable with the price, but like it's nice. It makes a big difference.
Yeah.
So that's really nice. One thing that I would say though, that this is just kind of a niche thing, but my ride cymbal, I love my ride cymbal that I have, and it's a Zildjian K heavy ride. It's a 22-inch, which is actually a massive ride cymbal, and I got it, I think, for like $130 or something. That cymbal, I came to find out later that it's like vintage. It's an early K.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's very nice. I probably could sell it for like $500 if I wanted it to. But it just has such a nice sound, and it's kind of became a pretty big part of the way that my drums sound. And I think that's one thing that's so cool about drums, that you can really make them sound like you.
Yeah, totally. No, I remember when you first started playing drums, like I was not a fan of your ride cymbal.
Oh, it was shit.
Yeah.
I had a Sabian B8, which Sabian B8s are the lowest kind of like cymbals you can get, or like as far as Sabian goes, like they're the cheapest Sabian line. And it wasn't even a ride cymbal, it was a China, and I just flipped it upside down, and then I just taped it up because I got it for like $40. It was just like the first cymbal that I bought, and I just was using it as like a crash kind of like ride thing. I honestly didn't really use it as a ride very much. I kind of just used it more like a crash, but it was just a dinky little sound, and it just wasn't a good cymbal. But then switching to like a nice cymbal, which is like the Zildjian Ks are like I think B20 bronze, and those are they're nice, man.
Do you think that's like your most expensive like piece of drum? What is the grammar for that? Like drum piece?
Piece of drum.
Yeah.
Like part of your drum kit.
Yeah.
I think, for sure. I also I use Zildjian A's, which I think I got for like $200 as my hi-hats. Or they're Zildjian A customs. And Zildjian A customs are a lot brighter. They have like the brilliant finish, so they're very like shiny. But I would say that the A customs are, I would prefer K customs because they would fit better with my K ride, but they're fine for what I need, and they're very nice too. But yeah, nowhere near in price to the K ride. But also another pretty expensive thing that I have is my bass guitar too, the Fender bass, that thing's nice.
That thing is nice.
I'm a fan of that. But yeah, music gear is cool, man. I love nerding out about music gear.
New piece I got was that Boss VF1 multi-effects processor, and that's
it's pretty rare, right?
It's my guitar tone.
Yeah.
Like that's all I use. Yeah, no, I got it because my little brother was like helping some guy move or something, and he got that, and then he just let me keep it. And I figured out how to turn it on and stuff, and it worked, which is so cool. But all I got to do is just plug it in, choose a preset from there, and it like gives me a tone.
Yeah.
And
they're cool too.
They're really cool tones, and I was never like that into guitar tones like you were. Like I didn't have like waves and all that stuff, so I would just do like overdrive and saturation and pedal stuff from Ableton. But now I know like a few presets on there that I can just flip it on, and analog gear is just so cool. Yeah. It totally makes you feel more like you're making the music instead of just like programming the music.
Yeah. It's much more of a tactile thing that you can actually do, and you feel like you're doing something.
Yeah, and like when you plug in the guitar, when you turn it on and this green light comes on, and then you use the little knobs, you're like, it's a different kind of feeling. So I think investing in analog gear is really cool because it'll also totally develop your sound. And like we talk about that a lot, and like how to develop your sound is getting things that aren't very replicatable replicable. You know what I'm
Replicable.
saying, guys? Don't make fun of me in the comments. But yeah, like having that, not a lot of people have that thing. Yeah, no, I was looking up tutorials for how to use the multi-effects processor, and they were all just like guys from India.
Yeah.
So I could kind of barely understand what they were saying, and like not a single like native English speaker talking about them. So it's like totally, I don't think a lot of people have that piece of gear.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's cool to find rare stuff like that, you know?
Totally.
Which it's honestly rare in of itself to actually find rare music gear because so much of it is so heavily mass produced.
Yeah.
But every once in a while you'll find like some weird, you know, off-brand music thing, and it's like, this is actually sounds really cool and nobody knows about it.
Yeah, it makes you think about like, it helps you realize how much music gear is made.
Yeah.
Like people are just churning out music gear.
Yeah. And the fact that that's Boss too, which Boss is like the number one pedal brand, which is pretty surprising that there's not a lot more of those.
Yeah.
You know?
The thing is, I think you can just buy them on eBay for $50. So it's like they're not hard to get, but like nobody really talks about.
Yeah. And they're definitely like not in production anymore, probably too.
Yeah, I
they're
don't
just
think
like
so.
older, and there's a lot of stuff like that too, which is like they've only made a set amount of them, so you can't get, you know, a new one. You have to go on eBay and buy them like that. Which, I mean, that's just one of the cool things about music gear is that they're making new stuff every day. Like Behringer is pumping out new stuff every day, but like, you know, Roland isn't. I mean, Roland's probably making new stuff too, but they're not making any like new Juno synths. Like there is the ones that are out there, you know. So
there's a lot of like new companies like trying to replicate the Juno and the Prophet, and they're like making their own version. Which
I mean, Behringer's literally doing that.
Yeah, true.
They're making, I think either this year, maybe they might have released already, but like they plan on making just complete replicas of all of the like old vintage synths. Like they're gonna make a Jupiter one.
Shouldn't be allowed.
I don't know how they're able to get away with that. It's crazy. Like a lot of people give them hate, which I mean, some of it is deserved because they are just kind of like ripping off. Like when it comes to smaller brands, it's like, okay, kind of messed up. But most of the people they're ripping off are like Focusrite or Roland or whatever. Like I think it'll be okay. They'll be fine. And the people who want that authentic sound are just gonna buy them anyway.
True. And as a consumer, like we appreciate paying 50% less.
For sure, yeah. I appreciate it a lot. I have a lot of, let's just say I have a lot of Behringer stuff.
Let's just say you're holding a Behringer SM57.
Literally have a Behringer mic right here. So, yeah.
It is the exact same thing as mine.
Yeah. I am a Behringer fanboy.
Yeah.
Just for the way that they price their items. No, they're cool. I mean, honestly, even the guy who owns JHS pedals, he has a YouTube channel, and I watch some of his videos from time to time. He said that the Behringer pedals are exactly the same as the pedals they're replicating.
Really?
Like exact same circuitry, exact same everything. They sound exactly the same. And so that's from him saying that, I was like, okay, there's no reason for me to ever get like name brand pedals again.
That's weird. Yeah, it made me this is totally unrelated, but it made me think of, so like one of the best golf balls is the Titleist Pro V1, and Costco made like Kirkland golf balls, and apparently they are the exact same.
Really?
Like exactly the same make and model and like quality as well, but the Costco is so cheap.
Imagine just having like a Kirkland ball out.
Exactly. No, I have so many Kirkland balls. It was just like one edition of it. They were like exactly the same, and then they had to switch.
Yeah.
But it makes you think like you can find ways just to get around and just make somebody other thing and be like,
slap a different logo on that thing. Yeah.
$50. Come get it.
Well, dude, that's like the thing with all of the like clothing and sneaker replicas and everything, like the dupes. They're made in the same factory.
Yeah.
Like they're made in the exact same factory. They're making all the name brand Nikes and Jordans and everything, but they're just, you know, putting the Jordan logo a little bit angled, so it's, you know, not the same thing.
This Jordan's doing a layup.
Yeah, this Jordan is just like, you know, playing football or something instead. But yeah, man, I mean, most of the production quality is all going to be the same. Like a lot of the time you will for sure run into like this production quality is really bad. And that is the one thing I will say about a lot of Behringer stuff is that the quality is not anywhere near, you know, on the actual casing of the pedals, nowhere near. It's plastic casing and everything. It's not the same quality as a Boss pedal or as a, you know, I don't know, whatever other pedal companies. I don't use pedals, but you know, all that kind of stuff. The quality is way worse, but it functions exactly the same. So it's a trade-off.
Yeah. I think another quick shout out to an investment that y'all should make is a pair of monitors. That's instantly going to level up your mix, you could agree or not disagree, but you could agree or not disagree.
You can agree or not disagree.
You got one choice,
Those are your two
guys.
options. Yeah.
No, I think that leveled up my mixes. Just getting another source of audio that's not my headphones is very important. Also, just getting nice. I used to mix with Beats headphones, and then I tried on my DT 700s or 770s, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
I have not been mixing my music right.
That's number one for me, I think, is having a nice pair of studio headphones.
Get that before you get a pair of monitors, I would say.
For sure. And also, I think, like, for me, I don't really use monitors. Like, I use my, like, little bookshelf speakers, like, just as a way to, like, test mixes.
Yeah.
But I don't, like, make music on them, and I don't really mix on them. I just mix on headphones, and then I test everything on different sources.
Interesting. I make my music half and half. So I split it half and half. I'll spend a day making my music with my monitors, and then I'll spend a day making my music with my headphones. And
do you do that intentionally, or you're like one day you just feel inspired to write music on headphones, or like
it's like both. Because usually before I make music, I'll listen to some music just to train my ear. So like if I'm listening with my monitors and then I make music, I just leave the monitors on, so I'm already kind of toned.
Yeah.
But I think hopping into a project for the first time in the day is important because you'll get a quick glance about what your mix sounds like before you get into the mundane and you get into your trained ear and everything sounds the same.
Yeah.
Like you have...
Because ear fatigue is a real legit thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to analyze things.
Yeah.
Like, also, anytime I'm mixing anything, I'll take a break and then come back to it.
Oh, for sure.
I think that's really important.
Yeah, well, just getting little snapshots of what your song's going to sound like to someone who listens to it for the first time is important. Like, you're never going to be able to get that feeling because you've been here since writing to mastering, but hopping into the project for the first time in the day is very important. So yeah, whatever I was listening to earlier, I'll listen to that, but every time I switch, there's new things that I notice.
Right.
And if I'm just in my headphones the whole time, then by the time I get to like the mastering and then I listen to it for the first time with the monitors, I'll notice a lot of new things. Yeah. But like it just saves me a lot of time kind of going back and forth while I'm making the song.
Yeah. I'm going to correct what I said. I use my speakers for mixing as well, but I don't mix like entirely on them. What I'll do is I'll mix basically the whole song on my headphones, and then I'll switch to the speakers, listen all the way through it, and then make adjustments as I need to.
Yeah.
So like if I notice, okay, the bass is too loud on the speakers, I'll bring it down a little bit and make adjustments there, put the headphones back on, and then listen again, and then like adjust things from there. So I usually give it like a couple listens on the speakers just to make sure that everything is right and make adjustments there. But I mostly mix on headphones.
I mean, the biggest thing is knowing what it sounds like, being familiar with that audio output. Yeah. Because, you don't have to have the nicest monitors, but just knowing what they sound like is important. So if you just get a brand new set of monitors, you implement them and you start mixing on them, you're not going to have good mixes. Right. So like you need to...
You have to train your ear.
Yeah, don't mix with them for like the first month. Just listen to music with them. And so like if you don't use your monitors a lot to listen to music, you can just do it with headphones if that's all you listen to when you listen on your computer. But it's just like I've trained my ear to my monitors and my headphones, so I'm getting familiar with them.
Yeah, I think it's also just important in general, if you're releasing a song on streaming services or just putting out a song anyways and you're taking it seriously, to check on a bunch of different stuff and check on things that are what most people are using. Like check on a pair of Apple headphones, check on just your phone speaker, like listen to how your phone speaker would sound, listen in the car, listen, all different sources, because you want to make sure that nothing is sticking out on certain, listening platforms. And you're able to control that within your DAW. And the thing is too, like, you're not going to be able to get it perfect, but at least, like you said, being able to know, like, from what other people are listening to, how it's going to sound, how your song is going to sound.
Yeah, for sure. You bet. And I think that's right. And then you don't expect them trying to make them think that their app is crashing.
Yeah.
We'll end with this one. Just a quick question from Asphalt. It says, mainly for xole, but do you still use Autotune and Melodyne on your vocals? They sound quite natural on your songs, but still have that shine. You have the best voice I've ever heard in my life. I want to get lessons from... Okay, just a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Any mixing? No, I'm kidding.
How did your voice get so amazing? Like you're literally the best person ever.
Any vocal mixing tips? I would say I use Melodyne, as mentioned before. That is one of my favorite plugins. And yeah, I think, you know, I mean, we've already answered this question with the whole auto-tune thing. I think you just, I'll just mainly mention this point. After you've recorded vocals for a long time, not only is your voice going to sound better, but you're also going to get better at recording vocals.
Sure.
Like it's a whole nother thing. If you're not familiar with recording vocals, you might have a good voice, but you're not trained enough to like really try to stay in key. Because that's a thing you do when you record vocals, is like really trying to focus on being in key. But just like an average like hobby singer, they won't really focus on that much. Like they'll really move their voice around, which is cool. But in a vocal recording, it usually doesn't sound that good unless you're like Chris Stapleton and you can just do that.
Yeah.
But for most people, I think really developing the skill of just record a bunch of vocals.
Yeah.
And you will realize like when you're recording the song, you'll actually change melodies because you'll be like, this is going to sound a little weird if I try to hit this thing. I'm actually going to go down on this note and just really try to stay in key. So I think develop your voice is number one. Like don't focus on the gear. Don't focus on buying Melodyne. Get a free auto-tune if you want. But just it's going to take a long time. Not a long time, but it's going to take time for you to develop your voice. But the good thing is that you will be developing your voice because it's a muscle. It's like an instrument, and you'll get better at it.
And I think also the thing is, in what you said too, is that singing is a separate skill from recording yourself singing, because it takes, like you said, the practice and putting in the reps of actually recording your voice and hearing how you react to the microphone, and you know how far you're standing from the microphone, and the way that you are pronouncing the words that you're saying, and getting that to sound good in an actual recording is a totally different thing from just singing on your own, like playing piano and singing, or playing guitar and singing, or singing in a choir or whatever. Totally different skill. So being able to just get familiar with the actual act of recording your vocals is really important. Yeah,
first step for being a better singer, in my opinion, this is coming from a guy who's not that great of a singer, and I've only been doing it for X amount of years, but is to, before you develop your voice, develop your internal ear. And like know what's in key and what's not in key.
Yeah, that's huge.
Some people don't have that, and it's a skill that you're going to have to learn over time.
Right.
And a lot of, like, we listen to a lot of beginner songs when we do our streams, and a lot of times I can tell, okay, I'm not even really going to mention your voice because you haven't developed that inner ear to know that this sounds out of key. Like, I don't even really think you understand that this sounds out of key. And that's not even really going to...
mostly if it's out of key, they probably don't really realize it's out of key.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point.
Like, if you know it's out of key, it's just like, why are you asking for advice?
Yeah, why are people saying my voice sounds bad here?
Yeah. Like, I'm fully aware that it's out of key. It's meant to be out of key.
Yeah, and that's just not even really going to take singing a bunch. It's more just going to take making music a bunch.
Yeah, making music and consuming music and just being, like, musically centered is just going to help you with that. Because that's also a really big thing with even guitar and stuff too, is like just you listen to a song or a beat that you're making or whatever, and you'll hear melodies in your head and you're like, okay, this sounds good. And you'll be able to like play a chord on the guitar and be like, okay, that's out of key. I got to retune or whatever. And just what notes sound good with what chords and things like that. And that just takes, like what I do when I come up with lead melodies is I just mess around on the guitar and see what sounds good. But if you don't have that sense of like what sounds good together, that's going to be hard for you because you can't press this note, this note, this note, and two of them sound good, two of them sound bad, whatever. So, I think just consume as much music as possible and just make as much music as possible.
Yeah, I think also auto-tune I kind of see as a band-aid sometimes to people who aren't using autotune stylistically and know why they're using it. People who just use it because they want their vocals to sound more in tune. It's like it's more of a band-aid, and if you just hear back your vocals with the heavy retune speed autotune, you're not going to be able to develop your internal ear and your knowledge for melodies and your ability to stay in key, because it's just going to...
It's forcing your vocals in key.
It's going to move your vocals around. and you're going to continue to make melodies that aren't in key. And it's going to make the autotune stuff, and it's going to stay in key, so you're going to have cool melodies that sound decent, but they're going to sound a little bit unnatural. So I think, it's going to be painful. Your ears might bleed, but listen to your raw vocals a lot.
Yeah.
And realize, okay,
be familiar with your voice.
Yeah, why does my voice sound bad here? Oh, I need to re-record this and be just a few synthy tones higher in pitch and hit this note. So just keep making the music, because watch my earlier YouTube videos. I was not a good singer. I'm not that great of a singer right now, but I'm confident that I've gotten better, and that's just a testament to the fact that your voice is an instrument. Like I didn't start singing until I was I was 20, 19, 18. I was making tutorials and singing on those, but I didn't take it seriously until I was like 19, 20. So it's not like I was in a choir when I was in middle school.
Exactly. You don't really need that. A lot of people have that experience where they were in chorus or whatever, which will help for sure.
I think it could also hinder you.
Yeah.
Like if you've grown up in a choir.
You sound like a musical theater kid.
Exactly. And you're in plays a lot, it could totally shape your voice to not be the voice you want to have.
Yeah. Or the voice that I would ever want to hear.
Not saying that.
Kind of shit. Yeah.
One exception, Lizzie McAlpine, and that's probably it.
Yeah, she definitely has a little bit of a musical theater vibe going on. She's been in like a Broadway play.
She just got in a big one, which is pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. But yeah, I think that is definitely.
Oh, we text, by the me.
Yeah.
She
just
how
told me. Yeah. She told me personally. I was like, oh, I'm so happy for you. Congrats.
She FaceTimed me right when she got accepted.
Yeah. I was the first person she told, actually.
I paid it to the news outlets.
Yeah. You sold the info to them. Yeah. No, yeah. Definitely, I agree. I think also, we talked about this before, obviously, but the Hans Zimmer thing where it's like, he doesn't know, quote unquote, doesn't know any music theory, because you want to just always be inspired, and you don't want to have this set of rules telling you this is what you have to do, this is how you have to sing. So if you have kind of just no basis to work on, that means you can kind of develop everything from the ground up, which is cool,
Yeah. So keep singing, man. Keep mixing the vocals, and you'll get better.
Yeah. And not only don't record with autotune, but don't record with like a billion other effects in your voice too.
Yeah.
Like don't record with like a bunch of chorus and reverb and delay and all that stuff.
Dude,
just record raw.
Massive point.
Yeah.
Because like over time, my vocal chain has gotten smaller instead of gotten bigger.
Yeah.
And like now I'm really just kind of focusing on the raw vocals. And a lot of my favorite songs, especially old songs back then, they didn't have like these reverb plugins. They didn't have these distortion plugins that they could just slap on a computer.
Yeah.
So like,
did you think about the Beatles? Like, they didn't have anything.
Yeah, it's their microphone, and that's mainly it. And then they have like some analog compressors and stuff. But that's like, I'm trying to go to that instead of go the other way.
Exactly. Which I think is kind of just the natural progression when you make music is like, you start off with, I'm going to just use everything that I have in my computer. And then you're like, well, that's not really the way that everybody's made music historically. So let me go back to like just kind of playing a guitar and singing into a microphone.
Totally, dude. The plugin that I abused and now I never really use is chorus. I abused that. I put it on everything, especially my vocals, because it'll adjust the pitch too. So like if I have chorus on my out of tune vocals, then it kind of just sounds like this wavy thing that's kind of in key. Yeah. So I abuse that on just about everything. I rarely use it now.
Yeah, I use chorus for guitars mainly, just because it's a cool effect.
I mean, that's the indie tone right there.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I used to definitely, when I would practice recording vocals, I would just slap a bunch of chorus or like phaser or whatever on there. Yeah. It's like, this just makes my bad vocals sound like they're supposed to be like that. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, good luck with the vocals, man. Send some songs into the streams, because we love listening to y'all's music, give you feedback, and help you out and make them. I think that's just about it. And as y'all know, we ask y'all questions at the end of all of these episodes. This was a long one, man. This is gonna be.
We got a lot of info about music gear and music related, items and things.
If y'all want to see another episode about free plugins, we'd be down to do that.
Ask that question in the
go into that, and free gear as well and stuff like that. I don't know if there's not much free gear out there.
Not really.
Unless you steal it.
Yeah, you can steal. Go to a Guitar Center and steal things from there.
Okay.
I wonder what free gear there is out there. Your voice is the one free instrument, the freest instrument you can possibly have, and it's the one instrument that you'll always have with you.
Beautiful. Well said. So at the end of all of these episodes, we ask y'all questions. The last episode, we asked y'all, do y'all watch podcasts or do you listen to them? And an absolute tie. On Discord, 3-3, and on Spotify, 2-2.
Thank you to the 5 people that voted. Well, actually, no, there's more, right? Because 3-3, so 6, 2-2, so 10 people. Respect to the 10 people that voted.
Respect to y'all. I thought it would be watch.
Yeah.
You kind of thought it would be listen, didn't you?
I thought it'd be listen just because that's how I consume podcasts. But do you watch podcasts more?
Yeah.
So here we are, 50% as well.
Exactly. 12 votes actually on the thing.
Yeah. I actually did. I think I did vote on Spotify.
Really?
I might have. Actually, it might have been that one or it might have been our last.
Okay, that means
episode.
that means that more people watch.
Yeah.
Because we're subtracting one.
Yeah. The votes have been thrown.
No, it was surprising. It's pretty even.
Yeah. I was surprised about that as well.
But yeah, I like watching podcasts, especially comedy, more like funny podcasts, because I like watching people laugh, and I like to think that I'm there and I have friends and I'm not alone in life.
Yeah, I like to form a parasocial relationship with the podcast hosts.
Oh, Shane, you funny guy.
Dude, that's so classic.
Oh,
Shane,
Joe, you would say that.
Yeah.
Come here, you. Give me a kiss. That's what I do when I watch podcasts.
Yeah, I just want to kiss Joe Rogan. That's that's what I do when I watch podcasts.
Yeah, so do we have a question for them? Do y'all want to kiss Joe Rogan?
Do you want to kiss Joe Rogan? That's the question.
Yes or no? Yes or yes?
Yes or yes? Do you want to kiss Joe Rogan right on his bald dome? So our question that we have for you here today at the end of this episode is, what do you think is more important? Software and like computer plugins, or the physical hardware gear? You know, guitars, keyboards, stuff like that.
Microphones.
Yeah, microphones. Things of that nature. Things that you can physically hold rather than computer plugins.
Yeah, what's more important, the vocal mixing or the microphone that was recorded into it?
Mm-hmm.
What's more important, the guitar itself or the guitar tone that you give after the fact?
Exactly.
Very great question from the one and only legendary Fizo. I'm blessed to have you as a co-host, brother.
Thank you.
Lodgers unite, Slodgers.
Slodgers. Shout out to all the Slodgers out there.
Yeah, and go tell your homies you love them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're thinking about telling that girl you love her,
do it, man.
You probably shouldn't.
She's gonna reject you, but do
I
it
don't
anyways.
think she reciprocates, my guy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're here watching the Slodge podcast, so when you should probably be learning how to talk to girls.
Yeah.
But try it anyways.
Give it a shot. Let her know. Because who knows? Maybe one day it'll go by and you'll look back and you'll be like, I should have told her that. And then you'll be like, man, I didn't do it.
Exactly. And it's honestly, it's just
Clip
like
that.
It's just like recording vocals. Once you do it enough times, you get better at it.
Yep.
Talking to girls is like making music.
The more you tell girls you love them, the more you go up to random women and tell them you love them, the better you'll get at it.
Exactly. You'll have more confidence the next time you do it.
Cold approach women at the grocery store and you tell them you love them.
Yeah, cold approach them really aggressively. And don't stop following them around the grocery store until you get their number.
This is 50% of the Lodge podcast recommends this.
Yeah. 50% of the co-hosts on here recommend following women around the grocery store.
All right, guys, y'all are the best. Slaughters unite. Be sure to ask us questions because we need more questions.
Yeah, ask more questions. Ask us all the questions. Ask us how to approach women in the grocery store.